Welcome to DADA TV. Today we'll be hosting Brittney Clarke, academic coordinator here at Syracuse University. Today she'll be telling us how did she get here and what did it take. Brittney Clarke, if you'd like to tell the fans a little something special that they want to know about you.
Oh, Lord. Well, first of all, I'm really excited to be on DADA TV. I don't know if I'm the first guest, but if so, I'm honored and humbled. That said, in terms of something interesting about myself, maybe I'm just originally from New York. Making this position here at Syracuse really special for me because I have the opportunity to be able to travel home whenever I want, and I haven't been able to do that since I left for college.
Okay, that's good. Well, how did you ultimately land this job?
Wow, so interesting story. I guess I'll start from the beginning. I ran track at the University of Miami in Florida from 2008 to 2012. The ideal situation for me after I left the University of Miami was obtaining a master's degree, but I did not want to have to personally fund it or have my family fund it, so I immediately looked for a graduate assistantship. So essentially, a graduate assistantship is providing work in a department, and instead of getting paid, you get a stipend, and they'll pay for your graduate degree. So I received the assistantship at Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches, Texas. I was there for a year. I received my first full-time work at the University of Arizona out in Tucson. So I left Texas and moved to Arizona. And then 2 years later, a job opened up here and I had an opportunity to come back home. So here I am.
That's a wild experience.
Very wild.
What were the most valuable college classes or experiences that helped you contribute to your success in the position?
So any of my writing classes were super duper valuable, but more than anything, it was the things that you learned outside of class. So communicating with professors via email, learning how to cultivate relationships with faculty members and advisors on campus, etc. Those are the skills that you need in the everyday workforce that I was able to really get and work on while I was in college. And I think those are the things that I learned in college that are most helpful to me now.
Okay. Well, everyone has this sort of mentor or someone that watches over them or helps them get into the situation. Did you have anyone watch over you?
That's a great question. Two people. So my mother is a huge part of my life. Someone I speak to daily, weekly basis to run ideas by, get advice from, etc. So that's obviously I've had her my whole life. And then my first boss at the University of Arizona, Wesley Moss, who's now a director at FIU, he and I have kept in touch ever since he left Arizona and I left, and every transition I've made, he's been there as an ear and an advice, so I appreciate him a ton.
Okay. Damn. We gotta cut that. Okay, was there a time where you felt that your job that contributed to a future learning or success? Was there any time you felt and you thought about, okay, this is a learning habit, like I learned from this, and I know I can't do that?
Oh, 100%. So by nature, I'm a fairly emotional person. So I've had a number of situations early in my career where I was in the middle of a situation and I ended up getting so frustrated that it was detrimental to wasting, and I wasted time, and it took me a while to bounce back and to continue to work with the students. So I had to learn from that. I am an emotional person. I had to accept that, but I had to learn, because of me and the way my emotions and my brain work, how do I handle a situation when emotions are high, things are frustrating, and I had to learn how to become a better professional at that. And I think I've done a much better job now that I've been in the business 5-6 years now, and I think I can handle it pretty well.
Okay. What advice do you have for someone like me that's trying to land a job like you, like what advice could you give me? What is some tips that you can give me that'll help me like later on down the line?
Yeah, so one of my former student athletes, Sean Avant, actually just transitioned, and he and I worked closely with his transition into his professional life. And a couple things that I'd always say to him. Number one, to get a job, the best way to do it is to be good at the job you currently have and make sure you're making the most out of every opportunity in your current position. Secondly, just an understanding of there's always eyes on you. So social media, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, all of that has an impact on the people around you. And you never know who can make a phone call to the next person and what they're going to be able to say about you. So just know that there are always eyes on you. And then just always be willing to learn. We have a wonderful kind of internship program here now. And after our first year, I've learned so much more from the interns that we have than probably they learned from me that first year. So if I wasn't open to that, then I would have missed out on all that knowledge.
Some great tips.
Do what I can.
How did networking play a role in your professional life? How did networking, like we all go to college, we all meet new people. Like how did networking for you, how did that work into your profession?
So that's a great question. So networking in this profession works really like knowing somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And so there's no one that I've worked with directly that helped me get any specific job, but it was like somebody that I was working with knew somebody who used to work here, who knew somebody who used to work here, who knew somebody who worked here. So there's that. But also, as I mentioned, the internship program before, we are very passionate about placing interns into full-time positions as they move on throughout the course of the year. And so what I learned from that is how many people we all know throughout the country that we were able to make phone calls to and able to get both of our former interns from last year both placed in full-time jobs at the end of their time here. So we're really excited about that.
Good information. Why did you choose this profession? Like growing up, a lot of kids had dreams of becoming firefighters, police officers. Like, what made you choose this profession?
That's a great question, and the honest answer is it chose me. Like I said, I knew I didn't want to pay for a degree, and there was a graduate assistantship open that happened to be in an academic department. I didn't know much about the profession when I got into it. What I did and was always drawn to athletes. I was a former athlete, and the opportunity to be in a position where I could help somebody else be successful, because there are a myriad of professionals during my college time. If they were not there, I would not have made it. So being able to be that person in somebody else's life is really impactful for me.
Speaking of you being a former student athlete, as a former student athlete, how did that benefit you today? Like, how did that help you become the person you are today?
I think there's a very specific dynamic that athletes have, that you have a common ground amongst one another. We're a very competitive group. We have a very specific type of personality. There are things that go hand in hand regardless of sport. So I was a former track and field athlete, and I work with football and tennis student athletes here, but there's an edge that athletes have that I can identify with, and I think that that's helpful in terms of getting to know my student athlete and having a common ground with them and understanding just the hard work and dedication that goes into having a college career that is so unique to the average student.
It's a great way of pushing up. What are your professional goals as being an academic coordinator?
That's a great question, and the honest answer is I'm still just trying to figure it out. I am an athlete, so I'm a competitor. I want to be the best at whatever it is I'm doing. I want to be a leader. I want to be at the top of the department. I want to help students. But in terms of like a place or position or things like that, that's something that I'm still trying to rack my head about where I want to go.
And how do you plan to get there, get where you need to go?
I'm going to continue working hard, so I try to live by what I say, and the best way to get the next job is to be really good at the job that you have. So that's what I try to do and embody at any chance that I get.
And being that you work with student athletes now, what advice could you give them? Like, what could you tell them, like, that could either help them now or help them later down the line, being that you are a former student athlete?
I guess it's just that, first of all, enjoy your time as a student athlete. It goes extremely quickly. Enjoy the workouts and all the hard parts, the winning, the losing, the friendships, all of that type of stuff. But also understand that there is another side to life, and making sure that you're utilizing all of the resources you have to develop that. As you pursue this like athletic identity, you have to develop this other side of your life, because at some point your athletic life ends and the rest of your life has to continue to get going. So my biggest struggle sometimes is with athletes that are at the kind of the end of their time, and there's this huge just pause in life. And the quicker you can transition into whatever it is you're going to do next, the easier it's going to be. And the way to make that quicker is to utilize the resources you have available to the fullest extent. That's people, getting in front of people, getting a resume started, getting a cover letter started, things like that, so you're ready to go. Utilizing your summers, getting a job over the summer, just an internship, something.
Okay, this is a question I would like to know. What is, out of all the things you do, working with athletes to competing to get to your goals, what is the most important part of your job?
Ooh, that's a great question. I guess having an impact on student athletes, to be honest with you. There have been quite a few people who I've been able to see them grow and develop, from freshman study table, coming in here every day and having to check every single thing, to coming with a full research paper that I just have to make a couple of revisions on, to see where the students started and to see where they go. That is extremely fulfilling. So definitely my time with you all, reflecting on some of my favorite conversations in here, reflecting on things after games. Like sometimes we'll just sit and talk, and I get to really get to know you all and your family, and I think those relationships are amazing for me.
And this is something I think the audience would like to know. What is your what is your favorite part of your job? Something you do that you really like?
I love, let's see. I love going to practice. I love going to games. I love that kind of